the Palace of Speed. Early on in this race.
Your eyes don't deceive you. It's a big one for the finale of Spec-5 World Tour, a race length of 90 minutes on Monza's combined Grand Prix and Oval course for a total track length 6.2 miles, just over 10 kilometres, and it is super high speed all around the track, slipstreaming on the Grand Prix circuit, slipstreaming on the Oval, and a lot of strategy to play out as well as we crown two champions in Spec-5 World Tour, the Pro Class and the Open Class. You're watching on HJBC, where we've brought you live coverage of every race. David Haynes here with Devin Peters and Michael Derby. Devin, they're heading out for qualifying right now. We've been on the Nordschleife a week ago, and we're on another massively historic, massively challenging, just plain massive track.
Yep, it's going to be a long one. A lot of foot to the floor. It's going to be a long, lonely road for these guys trying to do qualifying tonight, but we'll be there for it. And should be a good show. You know, we've been really appreciating the drafting and the tight battles we've been seeing all season long. And well, this is one of those formats that's pretty much guaranteed to give it out.
Remember, if you're watching qualifying and there's a particular driver or team or anyone you're trying to follow along with, HJBC.live has live timing of everything we broadcast, both here in the Spec-5 World Tour and the Champ Car iRacing Series, on board right now with, dare I say, one of the championship hopefuls in the Pro Class. It can be a little bit of a toss-up between Ronnie Coates, who's had a couple of good races, a couple of off races, but he is here. Meanwhile, the driver who's, I think, won the most races so far this season isn't here. because Camden Hibbett is in somewhere called Carolina Motorsports Park, winning a Mazda Spec MX-5 scholarship. That's probably worth about as much as a house. So congratulations to him. That's why he's not here. He's hoping that the drop 3 worst races means that the wins that he has racked up this season so far will carry him to a title here.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that he might put the trophy from his real world racing scholarship win in the place of the Spec-5 trophy if it doesn't work out.
He'll certainly have a way to try his tears. In the open class also, we're thinking it's between Andy Cossack and Lee Martin for that championship. But of course, you've got 90 minutes of racing after this qualifying to keep up to date with it all. And this is in qualifying here.
Ian Giebler and Lee Martin, who we're worried about.
And this is a look at that banking. It's kind of a Sebring of banked ovals on account of, I think it also hasn't been repaved since before World War II.
I was interested to learn that not only did they complete this track in under 110 days, which is frankly bonkers. Back in the 1920s, they knew how to work hard. They also had to deal with significant work stoppages because of conservationists mad about all the trees being cut down. When I was doing my research, I was curious about all of these bizarre facts. I was also very pleased to learn that this track is not actually just an iRacing special. This was a real circuit that they ran from 59 to 71, something like that, which is absolutely bonkers in the best ways possible. Yes, definitely no suspect history to Formula One running on the combined layout when absolutely everyone else had moved to rear engine cars and Ferrari were the only team left with front engine cars. They decided to run it on some banking instead of like the Grand Prix track. Here's Simon Foweather. I suspect he's only just getting into his first qualifying lap here. So turn 1 is the banking onto the right turning oval. You go around the oval, spits you out around the outside of the pit straight, where you then complete a Grand Prix lap. Somewhere here is the crossover, because the banking goes on a bridge over the Grand Prix circuit, and that's where the crossover happens in the figure 8. One of the more surprising cameos I've seen as of late of this circuit was on that weirdo 007 Road to a Million show. One of the teams tends to go to Monza's combined oval layout to find their amazing race style briefcase. Anyways, for all the people that are crossing over between that reality TV show and this excellent reality TV show that we run, great reference.
Now, Italian World Rally Championship round also actually used a little bit of the banking here once. So much interesting stuff happens here. I think I've seen cycling races use part of this. Simon Foweather, you see there, I think he's halfway around the lap. So you've got this doubled up pit straight with the big green concrete wall down the inside. Now, of course, the start-finish line has to be the side that has the pit lane. So what you might traditionally think of as the starting bit is kind of halfway around the lap here, as he has to negotiate probably the first, yes, the first braking zone of this lap is about 1.5 minutes through it.
Yeah. Cold out there today, but luckily I don't think the tires are cold by the time they do their 4-minute warm-up lap, and we'll see.
Well, the left ones aren't.
That's for sure. And we'll see. We're following along with Ronnie Coates right here as he gets himself through what I believe is the first actual corner of the lap, nearly 2 minutes in. I'm defining actual corner by corner you have to brake for, in case that wasn't clear.
The second chicane comes after the first chicane, and that's why they
strong
numbered
argument,
them
yeah.
that way. And through the Lesmo, still the Ascari chicane, and what they want us to call Curva Alboreto to close out the lap. Well, it'll always be a parabolica to me.
Okay, I accept.
There's where the banking goes over, and yeah, if someone ends up half a lap down, we might get the shot of one car on one car on the other. Not sure that's going to happen just yet. Ronnie Coates is the driver on this first qualifying lap who has all of the purple sectors. Why did I say that? Ray Lombardi's taken one away from him. But for the most part, Ronnie Coates is looking like the driver to beat on the first qualifying lap. 20 drivers are out there. Greg Mack is hanging around, but not on circuit. And everyone else is out there pretty much tracking along somewhere on their first qualifying lap. Ronnie Coates is most of the way around. Josh Olsen only just starting his. So to give us our first qualifying time, I think Ronnie Coates is the furthest around on the circuit. He is going to put in a 3:27. Then in comes Joshua Soto, Sean Hayes and Mitchell Peak's times, and Coates stays at the top by 0.3 here at the moment over Joshua Soto as they all leap into starting their second qualifying laps. Only open class time, no open class times yet.
You'd kind of figure the open class guys a little bit further behind. Former open class winner Tom Athon's holding on to 7th place. Unfortunately, the slowest of the times we got so far. Hey, no, that's not the case anymore. Orlando Harrell takes the lead of the open class. And we see some more times filtering in and filling out that scoreboard.
10 times at the moment. Ronnie Coates still up top. Ray Lombardi's gone to second, only a 10th behind. 10th behind Ronnie Coates. So he's slipped ahead of Eugenio Pellicci and Joshua Soto. Hometown boy Eugenio Pellicci, only Italian in the field, unless you're going to correct me on that.
No, I believe that's the only one. I'll go check everyone's addresses. Yeah, confirmed. The only authentic Italian. There might be a few others out there, but anyway. Surprised to see only about half the cars have a lap time in so far today. Don't know how many off tracks there were.
I put to you that Rui Coimbra, Geordie Fike, Brian Jabelski, Odyssey Adams, Ian Giebler have all had an off track somewhere, and the most likely places are the chicanes that make up the second half of the lap. You can't cut the chicanes. You also can't go too wide on the exit of the second Lesmo. There's no shortage of places, actually, where around 3 minutes 30 of lap, you can just get in too hot to one of these chicanes, run it a little bit wide, and be off track.
Yeah, absolutely easy mistake to make, and in a track like this where so much of the lap is full throttle, there's kind of like minute little benefits you get by running to the full extent of the exit of the corner really come into play. How carefully can you judge it? Are you 1 foot on the right side of the braking point or 1 foot on the wrong side? All that stuff.
Rui Coimbra staying inbounds there. Looking again at more sectors. He's had a good one there. That's purple sector 4, which is mainly just the Lesmos there. Approaching Ascari. At the exit of that, he goes pretty tidy at this point. Only one more corner to close out your lap. And you will get your 4 full laps around here the way that they're going as well at the moment. Still got just under 10 minutes to go, and some cars are coming around to complete their second lap and start 2 more, and for that they only need 7 or 8 minutes to get 2 more laps in. So most look like they'll get 4, but there's definitely a few drivers who will only get 3 based on when they left pit lane and into the start of this session. Rui Coimbra, no time, now he's got one. He goes to second on a 3:26.9. Ronnie Coates has improved on this lap to a 3:26.6, so finding about 4/10 on the second qualifying lap for Ronnie Coates to stay up top. Lee Martin, no time just yet. That will change shortly as he rushes down the start-finish straight, parallel to the not start-finish straight, to go 10th, now 11th outright, but second in open class because Josh Olsen's up top at the moment. Ray Lombardi was within a 10th of pole on the first lap. He looks to improve on the second lap, but he doesn't, while Eugenio Pellicci does and leaps up into second, now 2.5 tenths away from Ronnie Coates.
Ian Giebler sneaks in a quick one there with 3:27.6, good for second on the open grid, 8th place overall, and only 7/100ths of a second separating himself and Josh Olson on a 3.5-minute lap. If that's not close, I don't know what is. That's pretty bonkers.
Fight gets his first lap, only good enough for 19th. Ronnie Coates, here he goes out of the second part of the banking and onto the back front straight, the parallel straight towards what would typically be turn 1, and I always still want to call turn 1, but it's not in this case. On this particular layout, it's still a very, very big stop. You've been at full throttle high speed for a minute 35 in this lap to this point, and then you've got to really slow it down, check that the gearbox is all still there, and try to work out the rest of this lap where the real work kind of gets done.
This is a good question. What's the over-under on dead gearboxes at our race today? Got to think that someone's going to accidentally, hit first when they're looking for third, today.
Tough to do in a sequential. Not impossible to...
I forgot that we were driving the NDs, and in my brain they're all still, H pattern, NCs and NBs,
Josh Olson, good time there to go to the top of open class. 3:27.6 is his best. He's just starting a lap, and here's one of the things that we're gonna see is there is a great variety of banking here. He's trying to take the mostly flat bit towards the inside, but there is ludicrous angle as you go further up the hill.
Yeah, and it's kind of tricky because on the one hand, your delta will tell you all about how much time you're gaining at the bottom of the track there when you do that inside line, and then you get onto the straightaway, and all of a sudden you've lost a whole chunk of time running down the straightaway because, of course, you lost like half a mile an hour running on the bottom. So always a bit of a tricky thing figuring out the rightest line on that. I'm following along with Josh. But his main competitor, Ian Giebler, is actually pretty close to the end of the lap now. And he's heading down the final straight towards Parabolica. And man, that thing looks loose today. He has a big drift at the apex, and I think that's actually cost him a fair bit of time. Saw him have a big drift in the Lesmos too earlier, so this might not be the lap, but we'll see. Plenty of room to get faster. Late start-finish line out here on this layout. And no improvement. I think that that little drift cost him a little too much. We are seeing some improvement throughout the field, though. Ronnie Coates has crossed the line with a 3:26.3, solidifying that lead on his third lap, taking another 3/10 off it. Jordy Fike is now coming to the line and doing some interesting lines there to try and shorten his trip to the line.
He is. What's it going to do for him? Not a whole lot as he sits in 16th. That was his best lap. Ronnie Coates can wave at the pit straight, wave at the pit lane, but he's not on it. This is his final lap of qualifying. The first two sectors can be a little deceiving because, again, they're just all on the oval. It's here in the sectors now where you can make a little bit of a difference. He is a 10th down on his best lap at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. You got to imagine that even our tires that this season have really enjoyed sort of warming up the whole way, even that is not going to be guaranteed to still be good after a 20-minute qualifying session like we're running today to get these 4 laps in.
So some personal best for Joshua Soto. For Michael Coates, personal best to start this out. And he looks to go low early. Does he come back up the banking a little bit later on? We'll wait and see. Yeah, Delta will give you some real-time feedback on is down here working as they're working. It's very, very flat all the way on the apron. There's just a little bit of banking there. Then you really rise up out of the banking. The low part rises up rather than the top of the banking dropping down on the exit. So I can see why being up high loses you less speed than the line that Michael Coates has come from.
Some funny penalties to worry about on this track too, so got to make sure that you're getting that all right as you come around here.
Yes, if you go wide on the parabolica on the final lap, Michael Coates doesn't think he's going to improve. It thinks that you've cut the course into the part of the course on the other side of the concrete barrier, and we did see that will give you a 130-second slowdown penalty that iRacing expects you to serve in 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, I can't see the problem with that.
I think they mean you got to drive backwards, because how else are you going to give up 130 seconds in 30 seconds?
Pull the handbrake, you know. Sure enough. Rui Coimbra locks him up as he crosses the line. 3:26.95 is enough for 400ths of improvement, but not enough to move him up a position. We're seeing Ray Lombardi coming around the final corner now too. After starting his day up in second place, he's drifted back towards fifth and has lost a 10th every single lap until this one where he gains 2, but it's not enough to move him, and he stuffs it into the wall. 7. I'm giving that a 7.
Yeah, I'm only knocking points down because it didn't quite nail the landing. His teammate Geordie Fike just been shuffled down to 18th with some of the late progression in this qualifying session. But for Fike, he's hoping that he can pick off a little bit of time somewhere around this lap, move himself up. But you know what? He can to 8th. Great bit of time to pick up.
Andy Kossik's coming around the final corner after only managing to set a clean lap on his first out lap with a 3:28.2. He's hoping this one will look a little cleaner. It's definitely looking a little tighter coming out of the final corner as he straight lines it all the way to the start-finish line. And that minty car has run off track again, so he's going to be stuck with his first effort. That'll be a little bit of a frustrator after you put in 12 minutes qualifying. Josh Soto coming to the line. He's usually a factor in these things. 3:27.0 is last time by, and judging by the weave,
probably not a foot here.
You know, a 3:27.4 has maybe been caused entirely by that weaving. So I wonder if he's decided he doesn't want to be first, which, you know, there might be something to that. And he's going to run the junior circuit for us. Michael Coates putting some oil down on the track for us. Lee Martin's carrying on though. Won't get around for his final lap. 3:27.7 last time by. Good for third place in open, 14th place overall.
Clock's about to run out for Lee Martin. For everyone else, most drivers got all their laps in with the exception of Joshua Soto, Josh Olsen, and that's that for qualifying. 90 minutes of racing to decide the championship on Monza combined, the Grand Prix circuit plus the oval. Over 6 miles of racetrack, all of it at some very, very high average speeds. Ronnie Coates has the pole position. He needs to win today, and even then, would it be enough? We'll keep an eye on the points throughout today. Eugenio Pellicci in second, hometown hero on the front row. What's a challenge for congratulations? That's what we need to give him. The minute I finish this sentence, it'll come to me. Rui Coimbra and Joshua Soto are row number 2, with Ray Lombardi and Odyssey Adams row number 3. Mitchell Peake and Geordie Fike alongside their 7th and 8th. Sean Hayes and Simon Foweather are the top 10. They're also gold donators. We love them. Josh Olsen, he's the pole man in open class, as denoted by the blue stripe and the O. And so that's a great qualifying performance from him ahead of Michael Coates. And Ian Giebler and Lee Martin will be dueling it out for the Open Class Championship today. Michael Chase and Tom Ayton, 15th and 16th. Tom Sanders, Brian Chapelski, Andy Kossick, Orlando Herrell, the drivers with qualifying times. Greg Mack is hanging around somewhere, but didn't look like he got out on track in qualifying. Don't know if we are to expect him during the race. They're all gritting up, and shock horror, we're not going to get a full pace lap here at Monza Combined. They are going to line up just before the Ascari chicane, and that's underneath where the banking goes over the circuit to make it the figure eight here, a la Suzuka, Oran Park, Race of Champions, Rally Japan Special Stage 1. Anywhere else with the, with the bridge where it goes over the track, goes over itself?
I'm trying to think. No, I think that's all of them. You named 100% of them in the whole world.
Irwindale with a jump, but that's not a bridge.
Yeah, I was thinking there might be some figure eight tracks that could claim that too. So
we've had a wreck on the pace lap. Odyssey Adams Jr. has gone into the wall on the exit of Ascari. We haven't had the green flag yet, and he has damage. And I have no idea how that started because I wasn't expecting it. But that's a driver who qualified 6th. He was on the 3rd row, and we'll still have time to take a look at this.
Oh, okay. We might not have time for the replay, but Mitchell Peak is coming around the final corner and sees Odyssey Adam, who's got himself loose and out of shape on the cold tires, sideways across the track. We'll leave it at that for now and get to the start.
Adams has maybe done it to himself. So the pace car pulls in. You've got a narrower start straight here as we've got to share it with the other side of the track on Monza Combined, and then it's a flat out run into the banking, a long flat out run once we get this underway. Green flag comes out, Ronnie Coates leads them, but it will be a slipstreaming game for the first minute and a half of this opening lap, and potentially for all 90 minutes of round 13, the season finale, the championship decider of Spec-5 World Tour. Onto the banking we go, this old and historic concrete. Ronnie Coates has got the low line right now on the front row, gained a little bit of time with that short run, but when they pop off the banking, the drivers who are on the high line will carry way more speed on the long straight down towards the next part of this right turning banking.
With the draft factored in, it can be an advantage to be on that bottom line, and we're seeing some of that draft playing early as cars are hooking up the bumpers and pushing for their lives on the inside line right now.
Ray Lombardi's kind of looking to the inside, looking to push Ronnie Coates, in two minds about whether he goes to the lead or whether he just tries to back his side of the racetrack and push Ronnie Coates along towards the lead. Still up high there, Rui Coimbra holding just a bit of ground through the banking here, but knowing he'll pick up a lot of speed when they get onto the next straight, and he might be able to lead the group into the braking zone at the first chicane. Out the banking we go, narrow exit, track opens up a little bit onto the Grand Prix pit straight. Rui Coimbra's got speed, but the bumpers are connecting a lot more on the inside line. Ray Lombardi is trying to keep Ronnie Coates in this fight, and he's done it. Coates goes back to the lead of the race with the inside line. They now all have to stamp on the brakes for a massively high speed down into first gear for a tight chicane. The whole field still 2 rows as we then get out of that first chicane. You could see a world where Ronnie Coates got absolutely swamped off that high-speed start, but held his line, held his medal, got just a little bit of help from Ray Lombardi. Rui Coimbra now into second in this race, and it's Ray Lombardi who looks like he might be under attack on the Grand Prix circuit.
Biggest winners so far was Michael Coates in that green car about halfway through the pack, as he managed to make some aggressive moves on the first set of banking, finding his way to the bottom line and carrying the momentum up 4 positions from his 12th place start. We're too wide going into Lesmo as Ray Lombardi tries to hold the outside against Eugenio Pellicci looking up the inside. Eugenio is going to get the upper hand, and if he decides he wants it, I imagine he's going to have the position here too.
Pellicci into third. Lombardi goes back. Do got to be careful with the track limits on the exit of that particular corner there. You can use the curbing, but you can't use the AstroTurf like you used to be able to do. Lombardi under attack again still. Joshua Soto's to the outside of him. I mean, Soto's in the slipstream of Eugenio Pellicci. Will get some good overlap. Might look to swoop around the outside of Ascari, and he will, because Ray Lombardi knows when his goose is getting a little bit cooked. it's a food-safe internal temperature. Mitchell Peak is then behind that, and Geordie Fike and Michael Coates, who you called out, gaining a lot of positions, still in line to maybe gain a couple more. They'll head to Parabolica, and then we have to do all that oval banking once again.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I expect it'll be a little calmer this time because they're going into it single file, but you never know. By the time we get to turn number 2, there's a good chance that these guys are 2x2 again.
So from here, you get to about the apex of Parabolica, the track starts to open up like a parabola, and you get to full throttle, and you don't lift it unless you think you're going to make some very big bumper-to-bumper contact with the car in front until you get all the way around the 1.5, 2 miles of the oval. I don't know what size the oval is.
It's a great question. I'll do the research.
Feels like it should be bigger than 1.5 miles, but at the same time, I don't know.
It looks like it's about 2.7 miles by my calculations. Ooh. That's a big old one. So things have sort of spread out a little bit as we're looking at the field here. We got 3 wide in the middle of the back straight, just ahead of our camera car, Michael Coates, and always a little bit scary to be riding behind the guys going through wide. Big drafts, though. You're seeing that pull Michael Coates up as he's nearly clearing the guys he's racing with. I think he's got Mitchell Peak on the outside. Car a little bit worse for wear after that contact with Odyssey Adams on the opening lap. Wonder if he's down a few kilometers an hour. And they're still trying to make it 2-3 wide here, just ahead of Michael Coates. Oh, change of lanes up at the front of the field. That was dangerous stuff there, but productive as Ray Lombardi is now going to be leading this race after that aggressive move to the outside. Allows him to clear the likes of Ronnie Coates, who was leading, and Coates shuffled all the way back to 6th and just holding on.
Field briefly 3 wide on the pit straight as suddenly a lot of chopping and changing starts to happen on lap 2. Joshua Soto ends up with the race lead. Lombardi still trying to hold on. He's had a bit of contact with Simon Foweather, who's the driver, running off through the gravel, getting passed by a couple of cars that go around the outside of him, like Ronnie Coates, who now finds himself all the way back in 6th. Geordie Fike also picks up a couple of spots to go up into 5th there, and they might not be done picking off Simon Foweather. It looks like he has a chance to hold on. Eugenio Polici's back in 9th there, and he's the driver side by side.
Yeah, he's dropping. It's like a rock all of a sudden after a pretty good early session and a good qualifying effort, down 7 spots into lap number 2.
Suddenly, a bit of change starts happening. Joshua Soto leading. He's almost got 1 second over Ray Lombardi. You think with a slipstream like this, that won't last because it is a big train behind, and they can get just a little bit of bumper action. A little bit of pushing can happen.
Yeah, it's it's always a game of timing on these kind of super speedway-esque tracks. You gotta be near the front to have a shot at it, but you gotta survive. So seeing some patient driving, depending on the driver, but definitely high stakes stuff out there right now.
Backwards from the race leader as Ray Lombardi closes and closes and closes on him with a long straight here. You get within 1 second, you get up into top gear, and then the slipstream starts to help. And Parabolica comes along. Eugenio Polici's trying to cut a move through on Simon Foweather to get some spots back, and a few others changing. Foweather's off the road. He's through the gravel, and he'll just stop short of the tyre.
That's disappointment for Foweather. He kind of gets pushed a little bit wide. We'll see if we can get a look at it here. And yeah, he's on the outside of that was Polici, and then Polici and him come together. Foweather's a little bit loose, gets some dirt tire in the gravel, and yeah, not able to hold on to it. Ends up sliding just short of the wall.
Here's an example of the different lines on the banking. Michael Coates is down low, gaining a little bit, but
a lot of it, I'd say.
Yeah, but then those drivers who are up high will gain a little bit later on. Ray Lombardi cuts underneath. Mitchell Peake's still going to stay high. The drive through on the high line, like Joshua Soto, Geordie Fike gained a lot of time. But here comes Rui Coimbra down low, picking up a really, really good slipstream. Coates is getting mugged here. Rui Coimbra starts to top out a little bit there as he makes his way to third, potentially looking for second. Into the banking we go again, and he's got to make a big decision. Do I go down low, take the short line, but use a little bit more steering, scrub a little bit more speed? Or do I know that the up-high exit is so good off this second part of the banking and onto the Grand Prix pit straight? Michael Coates is going to follow him. There's not room to go 3 wide through here in this narrow bit coming out onto the straight, but now they can fan out a little bit if they want to. Massive, massive speed from Geordie Fike by the looks of things. The brake pedal comes on for him because he knows he's got such overspeed and nowhere to go with it. Bumpers locked for Coates and Soto. Soto's going to lead them into the chicane. Massive, massive braking zone.
Couple distinct packs starting to form too. The top 7 or so by the looks of things were all glued together there, and then there was another little breakaway from 7th to, or 8th to 12th, and the third group 13th through the back of the pack. But as I say that, the filtering from 2 into 1 has kind of allowed Eugenio Pellicci to rejoin contact with the leading group overall. So it looks like maybe he'll be able to bridge that gap and get them back into being a full-on 14-car battle for the lead. Ooh, Michael Chase gets the chicane a little bit wrong, though, as we see him running wide in the background. 2 tires in the dirt, and he'll carry on, costing himself some positions, though.
Frantic stuff through the opening 10 minutes of pack racing, but a few little trains starting to form. There's 3 of them, really, I think. Joshua Soto with the lead. Not that he's going to stay in the lead forever, as Rui Coimbra motors past. And Michael Coates follows him. And then you've got Sean Hayes leading the group that we were looking at. And Orlando Herrell leading his own little group. Highest running open class driver at the moment. You've got to point that out. Ian Giebler in that second train, while all of his competitors are in the third train.
Well, they kind of got it all wrong on the back half of the leading group, as Ray Lombardi, Ronnie Coates were all forced to check up because Michael Coates looked like he kind of got the corner a little bit wrong on the way into the chicanes there, the S's. I don't even know what you... It's the Variante Ascari. As we come back out onto the front straight again, it's kind of tight up there at the front. Michael Coates is trying to find his way up the inside and not getting a lot of help from Josh Soto, who's worked his way up to second place, now third, as Coates uses that run to pass all the way around the outside of Rui Coimbra. And Coimbra will have that short run that we've seen be so productive, but I do wonder if this draft from behind is going to be enough to send Ronnie Coates flying by, as he comes up with a lot of speed, opts out of the bump on the banking, probably for the best.
I think you can bump in a straight line here, but you do got to be so cautious about bumping on that banking because it's very steeply banked. It's very, very bumpy. It has not been used properly in 60 years, and it's because it's so bumpy. Very, very old concrete there. Seeing a couple of brake lights tap on as they then head into this next section here. Top of 5th gear. Just a little chip on the windscreen there for your race leader, Rui Coimbra. Yeah, I'd get that filled with resin before the crack grows and you need a complete replacement.
I'm just enjoying behind them in this little battle pack. Ian Giebler, welcome to racing with the pros. He's getting all kinds of push from Michael Chase behind, who's just smoking that bumper.
Yeah, these guys are like, come on, we can catch the leaders. And with the leaders going 3 wide here, I think you stand a fair chance. So briefly 3 wide. Ronnie Coates shot down the middle, went to the lead of this race here, leaving Michael Coates on the outside once again. No relatives, name not spelt the same, allegedly pronounced the same. There we go. Off the chicane, good exit for Rui Coimbra, now going to second. That action seems to be happening, though, around the teammates, Ray Lombardi, Geordie Fike, because now they've got Mitchell Peake around the outside of them, Eugenio Pellicci catching them up, and a group of Sean Hayes, Ian Giebler, Tom Ayton, and Michael Chase, who've been able to close up.
Critical stuff here in the points battle too for Ian Giebler. If he can stick with this lead pack of all pro drivers, he's going to make himself more or less insurmountable. Lee Martin needs to find his way from deep in the field, 16th last time, past the line, if he wants to have any shot at closing down that gap. And right now, I'm just not seeing that pace out of him.
Once again, your leader's got a little bit of an advantage and it evaporates quite quickly. But it doesn't evaporate that quickly when second and third go side by side. Michael Coates rolls off the throttle early. Rui Coimbra comes back onto the racing line.
And as we come on to, this is lap number 4. Is what are we looking at? What's the fuel window here? I guess maybe lap 6, 7, 8. We'll have to see what folks decide to do. I think the draft partner is going to be an important thing to decide here today.
Little bit of bumpers interlocked for second and third, making sure that the driver who had a 1 second lead in first doesn't get away from them. Ooh, rough ride across the seam between the lower part of the banking and the higher part of the banking. Really out of control moment for Rui Coimbra there, and it cost him his momentum too. They're all piling up towards the lead.
They split the middle on Lee Martin as they went into turn number 1 there. That was an exciting moment for him. Orlando Harrell on the outside, Tom Sanders on the inside. Keeping an eye up at the front, we're seeing some more of the same. Ray Lombardi goes to the lead with a little bit of a run, and he'll get to decide which lane he wants to support. Right now it's the inside line. We'll see if that carries into the corner.
Coimbra went up extra high, opened up that middle lane, seeing the kind of speed Ray Lombardi had. Lombardi went through to the lead. Now he pops up back high again. And Ronnie Coates with the low line. Soto trying to pick the middle here. Now the lane opens up for him on the outside. That's a good place to be, on the outside, on the exit of this banking. 3 wide is a big squeeze. But Joshua Soto goes through to the lead of the race. Lombardi's got some good speed there as well. The drivers on the inside are actually going to run out of steam potentially here. No. I think Soto's playing a game.
Yeah, it does seem on brand for Soto. He's a smart driver behind that car, and he's got plenty of pace, so he's always got a little bit of extra brain power available to do strategy, and that might be what's going on now. I was shocked to see Michael Coates with 2 tires in the grass coming off the banking. I don't think I've ever seen a driver do that on the inside. That was pretty bonkers.
He's got 2 on the inside of Curva Grande there as well. Interesting to see.
Door was closed a little bit there by Ronnie Coates.
When passing is so free and easy on the banking, so to speak, you don't really want to take too much risk through these chicanes or through the Lesmos, where you can pick up, not only off tracks, but through the chicanes very easily pick up a slowdown, and that would drop you, 2-3 seconds. It would drop you a massive number of positions that you'd struggle to get back. And if you're a driver on the tail of this group, like Sean Hayes, Mitchell Peake, Tom Athon, Michael Chase, that would drop you out of the pack, out of the slipstream. You'd be dancing all by yourself.
Oh!
To the middle of the road, a little bit of contact as Ronnie Coates wants the inside into Ascari, first and second, with a little bit of a tussle going on. It's been a well-coordinated slow dance to this point, but they just stepped on each other's feet a little bit there.
Someone tell them this is a double-length race. There's still over an hour to go, and they're middle-of-the-road defending going into the Ascari Variante.
Bit of 3 wide into the Parabolica here as well. Michael Coates has to really get on the stoppers down the inside to not tag the rear quarter of Joshua Soto, who was also a little slow in. Hello, pit lane. No, that's just on this this variant, the very tight out Parabolica, to stay on the right-hand side of the pit straight to lead them back onto the banking once again. Soto and Ronnie Coates very close. A lot of speed coming into this from Ray Lombardi as he goes up high.
And he's going to tower over the other drivers as he goes around the outside here. He'll need a little bit of help to make this work, though. And he might get it in the form of Roy Coimbra, who's behind, getting closer and closer.
Look at Giebler making some time, making some positions here as well. He's on the inside line behind Michael Coates. Now the bumpers interlock in the middle lane to push Joshua Soto through to the lead. Ray Lombardi did get that good exit that you expect from the high line, but he's getting no bumper assistance from Rui Coimbra or Geordie Fike, who are the drivers behind him. Here comes red with white stripes Tom Aton into the mix. 3 lanes working on the banking once again. Are we going to get 3 lanes exiting the banking? That's where the tight squeeze comes, and you got to say, scusi, as you just squeak through.
Oh, and they're thinking about, a little bit of contact there in the middle lane, too. That was Tom Aton, who's already made his way up into this group, and Ray Lombardi tapping each other. Man, it's getting busy up there.
Super, super busy here. Look at that next group as well. It's Monza Combined Racing in Spec-5 World Tour. Kind of what we expected to see. A little bit of Daytona on steroids.
Yeah, always good time around here, but you just don't, when you're doing this on in a league that isn't as specialized as these guys are, you don't always get to see this this kind of sustained action. This is really impressive stuff. Wide line this time by for Roy Coimbra. Not sure what's going on for him as he's dropping back a few positions.
Group single file through the chicanes once again. Particularly the second apex curb, I think you can just launch too far across it and it won't cost you any time, but it will pick you up a slowdown, which will then cost you some time. So in these cars, you can just get too greedy opening up the line over those apex curbs and get yourself into a spot of bother.
You always got to be careful. 6 laps in, still 12 drivers in contact with the lead pack. Speaking of, Josh Soto at risk as Ronnie Coates comes up the inside this time.
Josh Olsen's got to slow down. Now, I'm glad I've opened up this tab to keep a look on who's got black flags, because Joshua Olsen got himself one.
Yeah, looks like one of those ones you get for running a little bit wide.
So what did your research about the pit window tell you? Because this has certainly been the most aggressive lap we've seen from the leaders. 3 wide on the banking all the way through, 3 wide down towards the first chicane.
Does look like there's a chance that they could go as long as lap number 9 without any draft around here. Fuel numbers were pretty shaky, though. It's hard to replicate pack racing like this when you're trying to calculate the fuel numbers. I wouldn't be surprised to see anyone trying to do 10. And it's a good possibility with that in mind that we might be looking at a 2-stopper tonight, depending on how capped the fuel load is.
So Coates and Giebler up front at the moment.
I was going to say Ian Giebler, open class leader, looking for the overall class lead around the outside here. Oh, but he's not going to get it. No help from the pro class driver, Michael Coates, as he shoots around the outside.
Just like a high five, it was down low, too slow. Michael Coates went around to the lead. Now Joshua Soto follows him. You can get a massive bit of momentum, really shake up this lead group. Ian Giebler goes from first to suddenly looking like he might be 5th. Now he has that low line to gain a couple of spots. Michael Coates is just checking that it's not safer barrier, that the arm code works up the top of there. He's leaning on the outside wall again. Not great, having a little bit of a scuff there. Ronnie Coates to the lead, Ray Lombardi in behind him, Joshua Soto dropping back to 3rd. How about Geordie Fike, big bit of momentum to go 3 wide, and then realises how about no. But he thought about it for just one moment. Joshua Soto now decides 3 wide to the extreme inside, going to be a super compromised line into the chicane here, and he maybe cuts too much of that. He almost definitely just gets away with not cutting too much of that.
That's incredible that if he didn't get a slowdown for doing that, because that was all the curb and then some as he took the inside line there, taking some evasive action. Ray Lombardi still hanging around the front, second place. Josh Soto looking around the outside, though, and he might very well have the momentum to make it past Lombardi and Coates up the inside. Coates not making it easy, though. And he holds on, squeezing Soto onto the dirt. Oh, and a little bit of contact between the two of them on the exit.
Just a little bit of a hello.
Carrying on through the Lesmos, another little bump, and Soto gets pushed wide by Michael Coates. I think Coates might have listed his braking zone. And seeing things get a little bit spicy in this field. Lap 7 right now. Still as many as 2, maybe 3 laps to go. And sticking with our lead pack here.
Some dramas in the Monza region, as my iRacing crashed, and so did a few of our drivers. Some kind of weird issue coming through just there. Goodness knows what. A server problem. Something. This is a odd track, but that really shouldn't happen. And if that is what costs Ronnie Coates a chance at the championship, he could be rightly filthy about it.
What are we? Who was it that ran the Le Mans 24-hour with the many infamous crashes?
I don't know, but their stock price is trading less than it was yesterday.
Either way,
they go, and it's teammates. You can tell, Team Esports Racer there. Yellow roll cage is Ray Lombardi. Red roll cage is Jordy Fike. Red with white stripes, Tom Ayton, dropping back a little bit.
Yeah, and Ayton sticking up with the lead pack despite qualifying pretty deep in the field. I want to say that when we saw him getting under the way, he was not in the top 10. Ayton, of course, last year's Open Championship winner, hoping to try and convert that championship win into a little bit more. And by the looks of things, I think that we've lost Lee Martin, Greg Mack, Simon Foweather, Orlando Harrell, and critically Ronnie Coates. Oh, a little bit of drama going in the first turn there too.
Big drama at the first chicane. Big checkup as sideways. Oh, and now he's going to get turned again. Oh, that is Ray Lombardi having an absolute nightmare at the first chicane.
Oh boy. And no one's going to be happy about that. And I'm not sure if that was just netcode, but that's left a pretty wounded car for Ray Lombardi as he tries to carry on. And this endurance race is really looking like an endurance race with dramas up and down the field. Technical and otherwise. And now it looks like Jordy Fike leading overall. Yeah, Jordy Fike.
It is the leading groups down to 9 cars. Jordy Fike, Sean Hayes, Joshua Soto, Rui Coimbra, Eugenio Polici, Michael Chase, Ian Giebler, Mitchell Peake, and Michael Coates.
Well, this will be a big points shakeup. I gotta think, with a few of these drivers running up at the front. Fike certainly, this would be by far his best finish of the season if he manages to hold on to this.
Michael Coates is doing something back there.
Yeah, not sure what that was all about.
Almost 30 minutes done in this race for that 1/3 distance. Final corner parabolica, no pit takers yet.
Seeing 2 wide though going into 1 as Soto decides to make a move.
Why did I say that? Tom Aton's in now, but probably because he's got a fair chunk of damage. This is for the race lead here. Geordie Fike up high, Joshua Soto down low. Sean Hayes sitting in behind, being closed so rapidly by Rui Coimbra, who's going to get 1 spot, 2 spots. Can I get 3? Yes, I can. Rui Coimbra to the lead.
Yeah, Tom hits the pit lane after all that damage, but interestingly, Ray Lombardi continues on. He's got a drafting partner in Brian Chabelski, or at least did momentarily, so I wonder if that means he's got not enough damage to justify the pit stop. Either way, Josh Soto's up the inside here as we watch this lead battle continue on. Geordie Fike's on the outside, and Rui Coimbra slotting himself back into 3rd with Sean Hayes in 4th, and wow, that's a big run behind. Big lane switch there for Michael Chase.
Big check up as this group caught the leaders. Giebler, Coates and Peak had a massive bit of speed going on. The leaders were already side by side and they appeared at big speed. Now with 3 wide for the race lead. Soto on the inside, most momentum, and the side draft goes to Rui Coimbra. Geordie Fike drops back in line. Michael Coates again slamming on the brakes because he's got so much speed as he comes up to the back of the group, has nowhere to go. Still a bit side by side here. Rui Coimbra to lead them into the chicane. At the outside, Geordie Fike's trying to be careful, trying to be a bit cautious after what happened a lap ago.
Yeah, it's despite the loss of a couple of drivers, it's still very busy out at the front. Not everyone's showing a ton of patience. Barely 30 minutes in, still got more than 2/3 of the race to go, just.
Leading group in the setting sun. It is going to get pretty dark by about an hour's time here in the National Park at Monza. Starting to see some of that low sun and a lot more in the shade behind some of the forest in places.
Yeah, track that was already cold, chilling out nearly to the minimums. Consistent theme this season, that cold track temperature often coming into play. Do wonder if tires will be on order for some of these guys as we go around and around again at such high speeds. And so as we come onto the back straight in the 9th lap, expecting to see some pit stops this time, and very likely our first one in would be Rui Coimbra, followed by Josh Soto, Geordie Fike, Eugenio Polici, and Sean Hayes. Things looked a little tight off this final corner.
About to finish out this lap, about to go past the pit entry, and here we go. Rui Coimbra, Josh Soto, hold all the piling in, and someone misses out. Michael Chase wanted the pit lane and had to make avoiding action. He's on the wrong side of the wall, wrong side of the line, and Michael Chase leads the race, but he will not be pleased with it at all. Pit lane speed limit on this configuration, I don't know it. It's 80 kilometers an hour, so it's the same as the Grand Prix circuit, 50 miles an hour. But they all piled up towards that commitment cone, found themselves in a committed situation. A couple of tyres going on here, makes sense. There's still an hour left in this race, and you can, in the opening part of the lap, even with some cold tyres, stay in the slipstream, and then they'll warm up, and you might have a bit of an advantage. Tom Sanders also on the lane, Odyssey Adams in the lane. Still don't know what happened to him on the formation lap, really. But yeah, you can see that he is well behind us. He's only just getting towards his pit box. Here goes the lead group back out after 34 seconds of service for almost everyone. I suspect you're topping that car off.
Yeah, topping it off all the way. Tom Aton coming to the line after being part of the separate group. He'll be coming with a whole bunch of speed at this group of guys. I wonder if they'll have enough time to gather momentum before he gets there, or if we're going to see them just slowly pulling away. You can see him entering into turn number 1 here as those guys are nearly through the middle of turn number 2. And they're almost
He's
up
still
to full
chugging
speed.
along with like 5 more miles an hour than some of them, though. So hope to catch onto the train if he can.
The pain of pitting alone, though, it's definitely struck him a little bit.
So going a lap longer, not by choice Michael Chase, but by choice Andy Kosick, Ray Lombardi, Brian Chabelski. So this is not the race lead just yet, but it very likely will be in not too long. Eugenio Pollicci now has it from Joshua Soto. Look at them on the forest, on the banking, side by side. Soto around the outside. You do carry more speed onto the pit straight from that line. And our lead group is looking like 4 cars at the moment.
I do wonder if Michael Chase is actually going to have the fuel to get all the way around. Assuming these guys are all running it to near empty, he's going to have to do some big lifting coasts to make that work. So much open throttle time at this track. Not the only one to try and go 10 laps, though. Andy Kosick is out there running a 10th lap as well, behind Michael Chase. You see him all alone here going through the Lesmos. And he's being followed by Ray Lombardi in that yellow Rollbard car, and Brian Chabelski, who Brian and Ray have kind of been working together ever since Ray got tangled up with Tom there earlier in the race.
Well, he's not too far away from the pit entry now, Michael Chase. So it's not what he wanted to do, but he's hanging in there. He's yet to lose a lot of time on this extra lap.
Well, the stop on the straightaway, I got to imagine, cost him 10 or 15, not to mention the draft. So I'm curious to see where he'll come out. But if I were him, I'd be short fueling a little bit relative to this and seeing if maybe I can... If it's going to be a 2-stop ride, I'd be short fueling anyway, just to get the track position.
So all the rest of the drivers are into pit lane now. And this is the group that they've got to be worried about. It's also now heading down towards the Parabolica, led now by Joshua Soto from Eugenio Pollicci, Jordi Fike, Rui Coimbra. And then, at the moment, it's sitting about 2 seconds from Rui Coimbra to Michael Coates, who's getting plenty of assistance from some of the smart drivers around him who don't want this top 4 to get away. They want to hope that they can work together while the top 4 go side by side, go 3 wide, do some of the stuff like that. Whoa, track map works here, but not for the Nordschleifer. What do you know?
That's bonkers. But
top 4, they're going past and leaving Michael Chase and others in their dust. Chase is out of his pit box, but not to the exit of the pit lane, and he will get left behind by the race leaders.
Yeah, punishing to come out of there with that big of a differential in speed. Interesting note that Tom Athon has dropped off of this lead group after being as high as 2nd place. He's now running nearly all alone. He's got just Michael Chase on the inside for company, and he'll be overtaking him shortly. Back at the front, though, they're running 2 by 2 onto the back straightaway. The back straightaway?
It's definitely a straightaway. There's a couple of them.
Second straightaway. Just like the corners, we'll just have to number them. 3 wide going into turn number 3.
They leave the Roman Legion box formation into whatever this is, way up high for Jordi Fike, way down low for Eugenio Pollicci. Joshua Soto is left in the middle, and Rui Coimbra watches on again, just coming underneath a 2-second gap, but that'll open as Mitchell Peak gets sent into the forestry, into the Armco. That chasing group have had a bad bump, I suspect, and it's led to drama and disaster for Mitchell Peak. Looking now to the replay of it.
And Michael Coates is riding behind, giving him a push, and Mitchell Peak just gets tossed up into the woodwork and actually doesn't go into the netherworld, but ends up caught on the wrong side of a barrier and decides a tow is worth it more so than anything else. Do have a bit of wonder. I know the towing rules are a little weird around here, so I'm curious to see how that'll pan out. But that was an authentic bump that ended in tragedy, that's for sure.
Yeah, in that part of the circuit, you're 2 minutes of racing around the lap to get back to pit entry, but you can be only 30 seconds on the back of a tow truck based on how quick you are, because the circuit folds in on itself how close you are to the pit lane, but so far, so near, but so far. And that is bad news for that other group behind as well, as they lose a little bit of speed. They lose one of their quick drivers from that group, and it increases the chance of a top 4 breakaway. Everyone's made a pit stop of some kind at this point in the race. Approaching the halfway, we've got a video message from the Spec-5 World Tour Series admins, and we'll take a look at that now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ray Lombardi. I'm one of the admins in Spec-5, and we as admins have a message for a couple of people, and basically maybe everybody who's been struggling with something recently. There are a couple of our members or drivers, longtime drivers, who have been battling severe illness recently, and also one of our members who has lost his wife to that same illness, the illness being cancer. I'm just going to say it, it's a word. Our condolences, first of all, to John, which I don't know. I didn't know his wife personally, but I know a couple of people who did, and his wife was one of the kindest people that was you could ever think of, from what I've heard. So again, our condolences to you, John. And also, we want to show our support to Jose Gonzalez and Eugenio Pulici, who are still battling this, and we just want you guys to know that we're behind you, and whatever we can do, we want to support you, and even just thinking about you maybe can help you. So we hope you get through it. Yeah, we really, really we know you're struggling, and we want to be there for you. I'm going to do a little bit in Italian, not Italian. I'm speaking my best Italian because Eugenio's English isn't the best, and since it's Monza, his track and where he lives, we figured this would be a good moment to show our support. So yeah. Also, Eugenio, I'm going to try it in Italian now. So. Da parte di tutti coloro che fanno parte della Spec-5, vi auguriamo tutta la forza del mondo nella vostra battaglia contro il cancro. Apprezziamo tuo aiuto con il campionato e ti ringraziamo per aver gareggiato con noi. Sii forte. Grazie, Eugenio. That was my best Italian. Thanks again, everybody. We hope you guys like watching the league and support us, and well, enjoy the last race of the season. Have a good one. Bye.
No matter where you go, the community in racing is always strong, whether it's laying underneath the car at 2 in the morning or, bumping doors on the racetrack. And, we lose one, we feel it all. It's been a pleasure being a part of this community, even for a short while here. And we here at HJBC, we know John well, and are just gutted for his loss. And, there aren't words sufficient, but we know that through community we heal. So we'll keep on racing and keep on being there for each other.
Approaching middle point of this Spec-5 World Tour season finale, and we've still got the same 4 drivers as the lead group, and the chase pack starting to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, as we stepped away there, the track started to split them up. So top 4 sticking together, and seeing that we've got Michael Coates, Sean Hayes, and Ian Giebler trying desperately to keep up. But other than that, things are very strung out on the back half of the top 10 and all the way through the field at this point. following along. We got the onboard look here at Eugenio Pulici as he carries his run up the inside. Gets pushed a little bit down and uses that really tight inside line. You can see how much you gain by going down there. And I think this is the smart line, popping up to try and regain some of that speed that you just dived onto the apex with. Soto's going to get the run around the outside here, and I think Pulici will let him by, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him dive back in behind and try and carry on.
If he gets the chance, because that space is starting to get occupied by Rui Coimbra. There's just room for him to come across now, and he will. And they're all back single file once again. And now they're not. We briefly had a look also at Michael Coates' view as he can see the top four, but just can't do anything, can't do enough to close back into them. He's got no help, no support. Sean Hayes and Ian Giebler might be able to work together to get to him, and then them work together to get to the lead, but it's getting tougher and tougher as we go on. This is Giebler behind Hayes, catching Coates, and then together they hope they might be able to catch the leaders. It all depends on how it plays out with that top four.
Yeah, these sprint drivers are just about to get to 45 minutes, so that's one sprint race away. One sprint race down, one to go. Andy Cossack's too wide down the front straight with Josh Olsen in the open class. After all the dramas we've seen, this is actually the battle for second place on the podium. Andy Cossack gets overtaken by Olsen pretty cleanly down the front straight. And they both leave a healthy amount of room between themselves as they go into the first turn on the regular track. I don't know what number this would be all the way out here.
It still feels like the first turn when it's the first braking zone.
True, I'll give you that.
Even if it's 2.7 miles further around the circuit than normal.
Behind them there, no, actually that's not behind him. Anyway, we'll carry on. Cossack hoping to make up some ground, and so are these guys in this second pack. I'm looking at Sean Hayes and Michael Coates, and they're starting to close up through the more corner-filled portion of the track. Hayes, though, actually looking kind of sketchy on his tires, if I'm honest. I'm not sure if that was just a little bit overdriving in the Lesmos, or if that was tires going away, because he was sliding pretty badly. We'll see if he does some more of that. Yeah, see another little drift there. Gotta wonder how these tires are holding up. Spending so much time at full throttle near top speed, they gotta be pretty hot.
Straight line, you're going to be all right, but I suspect that banking, the way it's bumpy, the way the car moves around, probably does load them up pretty strong. And you see different lines on the banking lose different speed, and that's sort of an indication of down low, shorter path, but there is more lateral loading, more tyre scrub going on there, and that, of course, would put a lot of heat over a long period of time with the long corner loading. Another lap complete. And Coates has now got Sean Hayes and Ian Giebler in contact, but they all collectively lost about 2 seconds to the race lead on that lap, and that's sort of how much is in the slipstream versus trying to do it alone.
This circuit really does feel like almost like we're doing some sort of staged rally, with how just how long it is, how absurdly wide open it is. In our second pack, we're seeing a little bit of action as Michael Coates drops back even further. Ian Giebler giving a push to Sean Hayes now, who's taken over the fifth place. If Coates will let him, I'm not sure Coates is going to let him as he holds down the inside. Coates has been really comfortable sticking tight to the inside line, sticking tight onto the inner wall. So we'll see if he runs that same line up off the banking, and sure enough he does. I wonder if he thinks or feels that he's gained it a little bit by staying on the flatter part of the track. Either way, they're too wide going into one.
Yeah, still leaves this group side by side, a tantalising distance away from the race lead. Talking about the strength and the power of that draft, as Michael Coates will retain the lead of this group. Pole was a 3 goats is off
Yeah,
and around.
that was bizarre. It's almost like he got him spinning on the exit. You know, he turns out of the corner and you see him get power on, and the car just won't come back. I wonder if that's some really overheated tires on his car. This
That slide going and the curbing doesn't help it.
yeah, I was gonna say this track is an oddity in the real world, and it's also a bit of an oddity in iRacing. You know, it has a tendency to kind of act in funny ways, do funny things to the cars.
So we're saying pole was a 3:26.3. The fastest lap of the race is a 3:23.5, almost a full 3 seconds quicker. Picking up a good slipstream, having some nice, good bumps, getting a nice toe and a slingshot. Way more time to be found in that than driving along by yourself on a layout like this.
Yeah, that's I mean, the biggest difference you'll find anywhere.
Again, your leaders, and then the next two, and it is just two now. Sean Hayes and Ian Giebler. Michael Coates went for a spin. Mitchell Peake went to explore Italy's natural beauty.
With a little bit of assistance from Michael Coates, of course. And Giebler and Hayes are sticking together pretty well here now. I figure they'll probably work together with only the two of them. 40 minutes to go, bump draft in action, and they're too wide going into the first bank turn here again.
There's sort of 4 lanes on this, and you gotta get in one, and you can see, there's 10 degrees of extra banking when you go one car width higher up, and there's a seam around where the yellow line is, and then I think there's another one that leaves you just 1 lane width down at the extreme inside. And Polici drops back a bit. Massive head of steam here. There go the wipers. Got to clear off all of the bugs that you've hit, and you go from 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and into the race lead. Geordie Fike slingshotting past Rui Coimbra and Joshua Soto.
Ooh, seeing a little bit of action behind. Ian Giebler's trying to give a push to Sean Hayes through the banking. We've already seen this go wrong once. I wonder if we're going to get another little bit of drama here. It's sketchy up on that banking. You can see him wandering around. A little bit of brakes from Sean Hayes as he allows it to close up, and at the front they're closing up as well. Big punch there from Geordie Fike onto Geordie Fike from Roy Coimbra. And the lights are on.
Yep, getting darker, getting so dark that the headlights all have to come on. We've already seen that some of the windscreen wipers are on. That's nice. And we know this car's got working windscreen wipers now, because we know it's going to be one of the cars that get rain tires. Hashtag soon.
Man, I've been saying soon my whole life, but I feel like one day it might actually be soon.
I joined iRacing 2014. When were you again, Devon?
I think I'm an 11.
Okay,
Let's go back and look.
I think back to iRacing in 2014, and we didn't have this car, and we didn't have Monza, because I remember buying Monza when it came out, 2017 or so. We didn't have headlights on cars because we didn't have moving time of day. It had to either be midday, and it was locked at midday. It had to have afternoon, it was locked at afternoon, and only some tracks had night configurations. Famously, Daytona, Motegi had one, and that was kind of odd. You could race at Motegi at night when a lot of other tracks you couldn't. I mean, there's so much we take for granted because it's just progressively, 1 year to the next, to the next, to the next come in.
Yeah, it's, I mean, there's been a lot of good stuff along the way. There's a reason I've stuck around this long, but coming up And then, of course, the endurance racing that brought us all together, right?
Yep. Team driver swaps only came in 2015 or so.
Ooh, we're going to have some fun down the front straightaway here. I think if we're lucky, the camera might show us just up ahead of Roy Coimbra and Jordy Fike is Orlando Harrell on the other side of the barrier, heading down into the first braking zone of the track while these guys all go up onto the banking of the track. You see him in the background there.
Okay, because I thought you were going to talk about Eugenio Pollicci pitting from the lead group. Making
That does seem more pertinent to the overall race, if we're honest. Except for the fact that he's just disconnected.
Okay. So then there were 3, I suppose.
Yeah, it's an odd one out there today. Fike looking to get his best finish of the season. Soto always a contender. Rory Coimbra riding in the draft, looking for a good one for him as well. And Soto, with a big finish tonight, could potentially be looking at leaping from 3rd place in the points to 1st. Making up.
Well, Camden Hibbett's not here because he's celebrating a big occasion in his racing career. Ronnie Coates, led to believe a victim of a little, are we going to call it a server glitch?
Yeah.
Kind of what it felt like. If it happened simultaneously to multiple people, it's not something corrupted on my hard drive or yours.
Andy Kossik's too wide again going down the front straight as he peeks out on Josh Olson. Drops back into line though. 2 of them have been kind of trading off, leading going into the first turn as they're closing down on Ian Giebler ahead a little bit. So that's not Ian Giebler, that's Michael Coates ahead. Yeah, I don't know what to call that. The last time I had a server issue with iRacing was one of those first endurance races where things got pretty funky. But it's been a long time since I've seen anything like that. Riding along now with Tom Athon and Michael Coates. Oh, and commentator's curse. I say Michael Coates' name, he gets spooked and throws it off into the dirt. And that'll be some instant points and potentially a slowdown. And he might be backing himself up again all the way back to Josh Olson if he keeps that up. Stick with this battle for position between Olson, Kossick, and Shabelski. Shabelski, 3rd in this group, is in the pro class, running 10th overall. He'd like to overtake these 2 open class drivers ahead. For anyone who's new tuning in, we do kind of have a fun point structure here where the pro and the open class drivers are scoring points in the same grid finishing order. They're racing against each other, but they're being counted to separate championships. So if you do like Ian Giebler does and get 2-3 pro class drivers between you and the rest of the grid, you can make a big difference. And vice versa. If you're a pro class driver that isn't quite hanging with the open class guys, it's going to cost you some points.
The leaders once again, Jordy Fike from Joshua Soto, Rui Coimbra, single file through the banking this time. To the back straight, straight 1, straight on the oval straight.
Soto's weaving. Not sure what he's trying to do, just staying behind, I guess. Or staying awake, potentially. Getting a little dark, getting a little deep in the race now. 30 minutes to go. About 10 laps, if that. Really is kind of wild to imagine the, how it might have been driving some of the things that, frankly, the jalopies that would have been going around this thing back in the day, spitting oil and, co-driver and all that.
If you want to feel like modern motorsport and car racing is very, very safe, then you can just watch the Macau street race this weekend, where there are motorcyclists racing the Macau street circuit. And I've seen some pictures of motorcycle racing on Mount Panorama, and I think you'll start a race with 20 riders and you'll finish with 10 because they're the only drivers left. Insane stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty special. Don't get a lot of coverage of the Macau Grand Prix up here in old Canadaville, but
it's free online in every jurisdiction, including Macau. So do you not have internet up there, Devon?
Hey, no one told me I needed to go looking for that mess until now. Jordy Fiker runs a lot of curb there through the second Lesmo, but he'll stay ahead.
In the plains of Canada, they just think Macau is a funny way to pronounce my cow.
Hear, hear.
Rui Coimbra's out of the slipstream of the 2 leaders, Jordy Fike and Joshua Soto, after a little drama that he had. Next group of cars, Ian Giebler, Sean Hayes dropping even further away from the lead. So what was an inseparable group initially in this race starting to spread out, and I just think Jordy Fike have a big slide. The tyres, I think, after an hour of racing, starting to give up on some of the drivers that didn't change them in the first stop. Rare to see in these cool conditions in Spec-5 World Tour. Changing tyres is rarely the way to go in the 45-minute races, but somehow this place is just an exception.
Yeah, the asterisk of all asterisks is we'll see they're lining up, and looked for a moment like hit the pit lane, but not this time. And our usual fuel sheet is looking a little broken, so I'm having a hard time telling if they're going to need to do a second stop, but I think they might. We'll see.
Joshua Sloto there, as he absolutely just hands the race lead away to Jordy Fike. Rui Coimbra goes through as well, and I wonder if it's because Soto's realised, I'm in some fuel dramas here. They're all starting the 9th lap of this stint, and there is way less slipstream on offer in the last half an hour than there was in the first, let's be real.
Yeah, a couple of drivers seem to be confirming that theory, as we see both Tom Aton and Ray Lombardi hitting the pits this time by. Aton spent a lot of time outside of the draft in this part of the stint. Odyssey Adams looks like he might be lining up a trip down pit lane as well. And we'll see him. He dekes me out.
Taking the Michael Chase line.
Yeah, tricking me. Tom Aton has a pretty quick stop, but a stop nonetheless. He's going to need all the fuel he can get. And we rejoin our lead pack as they come down the new straight.
Straight number 2, straight 2.0.
I think it's straight 3.
New and improved formula.
Sean Hayes, meanwhile, is giving a pretty good push to Ian Giebler down the new straight. They're not jockeying for position, they're just jockeying to keep the car in a straight line with how locked up they were. And Josh Olson's still holding off Andy Cossack. They were too wide going through turn 3 and 4, but Cossack drops back into line as he has, and you got to think that he's got that timing more or less figured out for the final lap if he wants to have a go. Good race here for Cossack. I want to say he qualified 19th and is up all the way to 8th, so nearly 11 spots gained for him today, and maybe a couple more on offer depending on how things go. Enjoying himself in this Spec-5 series though, and starting to finish a little stronger every week in that open class.
So, is Joshua Soto finding himself in a little bit of trouble here?
We'll see. He's definitely dropped off these two, and can't really tell why unless there was a slowdown lingering or something. He's back a second and a half, about a second as we're on the back straight here though, so we'll see.
And closing now, he's back with them. Expecting we might see this round of final pit stops kick off round about now for a lot of drivers, except those that went that one lap longer initially, like Andy Kosick, Brian Jabelski, and here we go. Oh boy. Oh boy. Geordie Fike in, Coimbra and Soto stay out.
Ooh, uncomfortable. A little bit trail there. Two guys that were working together no longer. Rory Coimbra and Josh Soto carry on. And you got to think that you'd rather be in the pair than be the guy who's solo on the pit lane.
I suspect you're probably right. So it's Rory Coimbra and Joshua Soto left together. Other drivers hitting the pit lane: Michael Coates, Josh Olsen, Andy Kosick and Brian Jabelski, because I just said they'd be staying out, so they've come in.
Hey, commentator's curse works on many, many levels. Geordie Fike pulls away from the pit stop with a pretty solid 27 or so seconds stationary, which is a little longer than some of the other second stops we've seen. But as things shake out, I have a feeling it'll be fairly average.
So the split here is Joshua Olsen on the pit lane, while Ian Giebler stays out. So who Giebler's working with versus who Josh Olsen can work with here can decide the open class.
Coates is taking a long stop. He's at 55 seconds.
It's because he's serving the black flag, Devon.
This would impact the pit stop time.
Speeding on the entry, it's a much weirder, tighter entry here than when you've got the full width of the Grand Prix straight. So it wouldn't surprise me if some drivers got in a little bit hot, and maybe that's what's done it for Michael Coates.
Yeah, standard fuel and a 30 seconds black flag. That'll give you a minute and 3. So that's pretty much exactly what's happened there.
Right now sitting at 48 seconds between Rui Coimbra and Geordie Fike. It's trying to track if that's opening up on this lap, and if it is, then Coimbra and Soto working together and staying out while Geordie Fike pitted might leave Fike all alone and lonely. You can see him, the 119, just working his way through the first chicane as these two just work their way around the second Lesmo.
That will be an interesting one to watch as we see them battling the stopwatch. I know as Fike's come out and he's more or less all alone. There's not really anyone in his vicinity.
A lot of real estate going on here. There is Lando Harrell still just on the lead lap ahead of these guys.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Champ Car could put 200 around this thing, and there's still be plenty of room if we ran the banking. Toe would be pretty long, though.
It'd have to be hot pulls. Tight line here from Joshua Soto as he drops back a little bit behind Rui Coimbra, and they both hit pit lane. And remember, 50 miles an hour, you don't want to exceed it. They're in. Giebler and Hayes are the next group. They're probably also in this time. Then we will have pretty much, I think, had second pit stops from everyone, assuming that when Lee Martin and Orlando Harrell pitted 2 laps ago, they can make it home from there. They definitely try. Here is Geordie Fike now at full speed while those other two are on pit lane, but I don't think there's much service left for Coimbra and Soto, ticking up towards 20 seconds now, and then they'll try to be out of there and on their way quickly. Fike out the Parabolica at speed and picking up some speed. Long stops from Coimbra and Soto compared to Fike. That's going to keep him in this. They're leaving that pit lane now, but they will not have the kind of speed or momentum that Fike has got bearing down on them from third place, now 3 seconds back, now 2.5 seconds back, now 2 seconds back, and he'll continue to have a speed advantage all the way around this first banked corner.
Now the question is it enough to overcut them?
What does he do? They're too wide. He goes for the middle and he goes for the race lead. Soto up high. Rui Coimbra down low. Enough speed from Geordie Fike to shoot the middle, shoot the gap, go back to the race lead. The band is back together.
One car that has seen a pretty significant variance in the pit stop is Ian Giebler, who, despite entering the pit lane substantially ahead of Sean Hayes, has now dropped to 5 seconds behind him. I'll leave that for a second as we see him too wide at the front of the field. Oh, and a bounce off the wall there for Geordie Fike.
He tastes a little bit of that outside wall like Michael Coates had done before him. Looks like he carries on mostly unscathed out of that. Safer barrier was not invented in the 1920s.
Shocking that there's guardrail.
There's our side by side on the pit straight.
Oh man, the real specialty would be if we could get 3 wide, but across, pit lane, middle, and new straight.
It's Lee Martin, and he goes into banked section while our race leaders go into the first chicane.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, Ian Giebler and Sean Hayes went into the pit stop fairly close together, but if we flip back to those two, we'll see a pretty substantial gap between the two of them. Giebler actually had an advantage going into the pit. Oh, and I spoke about him and he drifted the chicane. Giebler had a pretty substantial advantage going into the pits because as they came into the Variante del Roggia, he ran it clean and Sean Hayes got in real deep. Meanwhile, though, in the pit stop, Hayes gains nearly 5 seconds, taking on less fuel. What are we seeing a replay of here? This is the leaders, and oh my gosh, Josh Soto had a moment there.
I think he did. That was very, very close from ending in the guardrail, but he just kept it going through the gravel. I can see the wheel tracks through the gravel. They tell a very, very exciting story that nearly was the end of the race and the end of any championship hope for Joshua Soto. But instead, he keeps the car out of the wall, keeps it together in third place. Rui Coimbra and Geordie Fike now first and second, 20 minutes left on the clock. And as far as the open class goes, you talked about Giebler having that long stop, dropping behind Sean Hayes, but still 10 seconds ahead of his next rival in class in Josh Olsen.
Yeah,
okay, maybe it's only 9 now.
Yeah.
There's Giebler, behind him Tom Ayton, and then Josh Olsen leading this group here in open class. Brian Chabelski pro, Andy Kosick open behind. So those three together, the only real group going on other than your race leaders Rui Coimbra and Geordie Fike. Chance in this final stint that they could have a good run, particularly through the oval section, some of the other straights. Someone's on the parallel pit straight as these guys come around.
Yeah, not sure. Not sure there'll be an overtake there. Might be a different story at the front. Rui Coimbra and Geordie Fike are glued back together. They've seen the gap that they've got to Josh Soto, and I think the two of them would love to keep that back gap intact over these next 5 laps. They'll have to work hard though. Soto is a machine when he puts his head down and gets racing.
Just a little air cushion between the race leaders. Now out onto the outer part of the pit straight. Decisions to make for both of them right here. And for Geordie Fike, the decision is to bump Rui Coimbra. For Rui Coimbra, the decision was to stay left of track and let Geordie do whatever Geordie wanted to do. And Geordie chose push along. And they've got just a little bit of advantage now over Joshua Soto. And we talked about those fuel sums and how different they are. with a buddy versus all on your lonesome? And does there come a point where Soto no longer has enough fuel to try to catch them?
Yeah, that's got to be a significant consideration. Those guys with the draft pulled out nearly a second on those 2 straightaways, and I got to imagine there's more of that to come. We've seen a better part of 3 seconds difference between cars with draft and without, and so even if Soto's really nailing, as we see him flying through the chicanes there, really nailing the rest of the track, it's going to be difficult for him to try and make up all this ground. He's done a lot though this time. Oh, he uses every single inch of the corner. And a little bit of... Oh, again, he's way out there. Working hard. He gains most of that second back, I see, through the Lesmos and the chicanes. But how long can he keep it up?
Yeah, really starting to drop now. This is that other group containing second and third in open class, also containing Brian Chabelski, who's at the point ahead of Josh Olsen, who's dropped back, and Andy Kosick, who's now right on his tail. They head underneath the banking, where I think someone's actually on it at the moment. Who's just passing over the banking? Orlando Harrell has been around on the banking. Now through Ascari and close to rounding out this lap for these drivers.
It's kind of silly, but it'd be a good time to set up a lawn, or a good time to set up a lawn chair up on the banking and just, watch the cars coming out underneath you.
Bit wide
Olsen.
from Olsen.
Yeah, has a bit of a moment. Maybe feeling the pressure from Kosick behind. And things have shaken up a bit in this group, where Brian Chabelski was following them before. Now he's leading them, and he might very well have the chance to play Kingmaker, depending on which lane he chooses. Kosick looks up the inside with a little bit of draft, going down, and Chabelski chooses neither, staying in the middle while neither one grabs the draft. And Kosick will have the advantage on the entry, taking car lengths out of both of them.
Ray Lombardi 3 seconds back was quicker than them on the last lap as well. So if Josh, because Josh Olsen was leading the group and then dropped back, now coming back through this group as they both freight train Brian Chabelski, if it's not tidy, Ray Lombardi does stand a chance of catching them. We know he was mighty quick, but catching a group so difficult in this format of racing. The slingshot, mega powerful, worth seconds per lap.
Interesting to see Kosick staying at the bottom and then dropping back too at that point, despite having the position pretty well in hand. Perhaps he's feeling a little bit of fuel pressure as well. 4 laps to go this time by.
Dropping in, dropping out. Josh Olsen making a couple of lane change adjustments. Now, long straight run, and Brian Chabelski says, I'll take this lane. You can work out what you guys are doing. For Josh Olsen, he's looking to pass. Andy Kosick looking to save a lot of fuel.
Yeah, that was one of them big lifts.
I think Chabelski's doing a bit of the same as well.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a few cars doing it. All year fuel calculations up till now have been in pretty big drafting groups, and those have all but evaporated in this phase of the race.
And at the lead here, Rui Coimbra's got 8 tenths on Geordie Fike, and they're pulling more and more time on Joshua Soto, who I think has had to enter a pretty big conservation to get to the end of this race now that he's all on his lonesome for basically the first time in this race, basically the first time in 75 minutes. He's dropped away from the leading group. Fike also had a pretty short pit stop, might be needing to save a little bit. Rui Coimbra had the longest pit stop of everyone last time around.
Yeah, an extra 1.5 seconds of fuel, it doesn't seem like a lot until you sputter coming out of the final corner. And Rui will be riding that all the way. Actually heard Soto rolling the clutch through the S's there at the Variante Ascari. So he's in dire straits.
So what does the timing clock tell us? 12 minutes to go. Probably 4 more laps. Yep, looking like it's going to be 4 more laps of Monza combined for this season of Spec-5 World Tour. Here's Brian Jabelski and Josh Olsen once again, those two trading it back and forth in this little group, but you can see Ray Lombardi in the background there still closing in on them as the race goes on. I don't think Ray Lombardi's making it to the end without another pit stop. All right, I've just looked at a couple of numbers and gone, those don't all add up.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. It's going to be interesting to see who's the big winners, who's the big losers on the fuel here. Jody Fike doing his best to be a winner as he rides just a millimeter off the bumper of Rui Coimbra. Doing his impression of, me behind Sammy on the freeway.
Got to save every way you can, Devin.
Yeah, inflation, getting everyone. Brian Jabelski making a move around Andy Kosick on the back of the old circuit. Carrying that draft up around the outside. And he might very well go all the way to the front, even with the 2 open class drivers on the bottom lane. This exit out off of this banking up onto the new circuit is pretty rough no matter where you go. The inside's usually a little bit smoother, but because it's so uphill, you actually lose some momentum. And you see it here as Jabelski, who was losing momentum on the exit, starts to gain momentum as they go onto the straightaway, and Jabelski holds on to that position. 7th place for him. A big lift there, actually, from Kosick. So everyone paying attention to the fuel at this point.
They certainly are trying to make it to the end. 10 minutes to go. Back again with 6 seconds between Rui Coimbra and Jordi Fike. Joshua Soto's now 7 seconds behind. In the last lap, your leader did a 3:25. Jordi Fike did a 3:26. Joshua Soto did a 3:27. He's dropping away, and he's dropping away as they go.
Yeah, this feels almost a little bit old school up here at the front, because I feel like Rui Coimbra and Jordi Fike have both been around for a while and have their fair share of race wins, but have also had to deal with the young guns coming up and putting their stamp on things. We haven't seen them battling for a win yet before this race, but they're putting on a little bit of a show for us. And Fike just starting to poke himself around, looking to shine those lights into the mirrors. This thing lets you flash the headlights?
No, I don't think you can. Not in this yet.
Disappointing. We'll have to work on that. Ooh, a little bit wide there on the exit from Coimbra.
Underneath 9 minutes, lap time's just over 3 minutes. 3 laps to go as they cross the start-finish line. Keep in mind, though, the start-finish line on this configuration is about here. Quite a long way down that straight, only just before the pit exit. Different to the Grand Prix layout where the checkered flag comes up quite quickly out of the final corner. That will be something to keep in mind on the final lap, I think, given how quickly they come out of the parabolic and how long the run is to the checkered flag.
Yeah, no split start-finish on this track, on this layout. And a lot of lonely cars out there at this point. We got a few cars battling, but a lot of cars just finishing.
Now, I'm pretty sure that when the headlights come on, the driver's helmet visor also changes from tinted to clear. I don't know how they do that, but I think that's what happens, because I'm pretty sure every driver model started the race with a tinted visor. Now they've all got a clear on.
Nice tear off.
Not quite how that works. Leading group, Coimbra and Fike.
Yeah. Consistently, Coimbra's been very wide on the exit. We're switched now, though. We're looking at Shabelski as he puts a little bit of pressure on Olsen here. And interestingly, the two of them have managed to open up almost a half-second gap to the likes of Andy Kosick. And he's, I think, still doing some aggressive fuel saving. Seen him breaking 250 out when the boards only start at 100.
My boards start at 200.
I've miscounted David Haynes. They are closing up on.
Only thing I can count in
though.
Italian is cinquecento. And that I'm pretty useless.
Yeah, I got Cerveza, but I'm not sure that counts. Anyway, Josh Olsen, Brian Shabelski, and Andy Kosick here, despite the fact that there may be a bit of fuel saving going on, are also closing down the gap ahead of them. And we're starting to see just ahead of them some lights of Tom Athon and Ian Giebler. Giebler's the leader in open class, so if this keeps going the way it's going, we might actually have a bit of a battle here for the open class podium.
My handy phrase guide here. I'm not sure I can order a cerveza, but I can order una bottiglia vino dalla casa. So
That sounds delicious, yeah.
Would do all right for me. Here we go, side by side, race lead, 2 laps to go, 5 minutes on the clock. At the end of the straight, it is 2 laps to go and a battle between Jordy Fike and Rui Coimbra. Joshua Soto now 11 seconds away, losing time and some seconds per lap here on the Monza combined layout, away from the 2-horse race that remains for the final race win of the season.
Yeah, preview of the final lap there as they crossed the line 1/100th of a second separated, and you know what decided it was the last bit of side draft. They were jousting at each other, and I think Jordy just barely got the side draft to decide it. So we'll see who does it best on the last lap. One more rehearsal to go. So
there's a lot of battles that are going to end like that as well, because Tom Athon's just caught and passed Ian Giebler on the last lap. Side by side still for your leaders. You got that 3-way battle. Josh Olsen, Andy Kosick, Brian Shabelski, where Andy Kosick's starting to make a little bit of moves. Obviously spent a couple of laps aggressively saving fuel. Now, I don't think he's doing that anymore as he goes to the lead of that group, and Jordy Fike ends up as the race leader coming out of NASCAR turns 3 and 4.
I was going to say, looking to the back half of the podium, Josh Soto is running real slow. He ran a 3:30 last time by nearly 4 seconds off the pace of the lead group, and not all of that's draft. So that fuel save is in full effect as he tries to stretch that thing to the end.
And here they pop out of the trees in the forest of Monza, onto the same section of track that leaders just were. They can look up the road and see Tom Athon and Ian Giebler only 5 seconds ahead of this group. Giebler's last lap at 3:29. This group doing 3:26s, 3:27s. Still time, still a chance, and we have a big question mark around everyone's remaining fuel, really. At least we know Joshua Soto's in trouble, and we see his pit stop time 28 seconds. There's a few others similar to that out there as well. And the slipstream, of course, just makes it impossible to predict how much they're using or how much they've had to use at different points in the race as well.
Yeah, who was topping it up and who was putting in a splash, you know, it's difficult to say at this point. What's not difficult to say is that it looks like there will be a battle between Rui Coimbra and Jordy Fike here coming to the line. Half second between them as they come into the Varianti Ascari for the second to last time.
Who's the second slowest car on track right now, Devin?
Second slowest car on track, will that be Ian? Oh, no, that'd be Josh Soto.
he is in a world of hurt, and his third place actually not secure at the pace he's going as well. Sean Hayes, Tom Ayton, Ian Giebler, maybe even others could catch him on the final lap, dropping 4 seconds per lap last lap, and it's becoming more drastic. He was losing 1 second per lap saving fuel, then he was losing 3 seconds per lap, now he's losing 4. Who knows what might happen on the last? It might be 5, 6, 10 seconds. He might need to keep coming to the white flag. He is in a world of trouble, and he's going to have to do a whole 6 point some more miles of the Monza combined. The right turning oval plus the Grand Prix circuit. White flag out for our race leaders. Rui Coimbra is now practicing when to pull out of the toe, when to take that side draft. They start the final lap side by side. Geordie Fike would have won the race by 2/10 if that was the final lap. Rui Coimbra will have to be very, very wise about how they close this one out.
Going into the Parabolica that time, Josh Soto clutched in 400 out and rolled it all the way through the corner before dropping the clutch and getting back on the throttle in 6th going on to the straightaway, when normally you'd be going into the straightaway in 4th. So he is really hurting.
Devin, who was the slowest car on track last lap?
Oh, that'd be our buddy Mr. Soto.
This is proof, if ever, that in a 90-minute race like this in Spec-5 World Tour, it's the racecraft wheel to wheel. It's the pace on the Grand Prix circuit in qualifying, but it's also the strategy, the numbers, the calculation that decide victory and defeat. And there are many battles that will have victors or defeat at the end of this lap. Halfway around the final lap, Geordie Fike goes back to the race lead. Rui Coimbra is not going to let him be comfortable for one more minute, for one more corner in this lap. And they got a nice little drag race going on side by side there. You love to see it on the Monza combined layout for a battle on the brakes. Around the outside, Geordie Fike trying to hold on. Rui Coimbra doesn't give him a whole lot of space for free.
Oh, but he gives him enough, and he has to tap on the brakes as the door gets slammed.
Time. You have to leave it a space. You have to leave it a space, said Fernando Alonso in the Italian Grand Prix at this circuit. It's gone down in history. How about this race finish? 3 wide for Brian Chabelski, Josh Olsen and Andy Kosick for the podium in the open class. That's what Olsen and Kosick are battling for. They might even be able to catch Ian Giebler, who's just up the road battling with Tom Ayton. How about Sean Hayes catching Joshua Soto? It's all still to happen on the final lap. The clock's run out. We've had more than 90 minutes. They've just got to see out this one final lap to the checkered flag. Geordie Fike in front, less than 1/10 of a second from Rui Coimbra, who's playing that Daytona game. How do you take the lead away between now and the checkered flag on the final lap?
The question is, do you want to be ahead going into Parabolica, or do you want to be behind on the way out? And I'm not sure that we've got our answer just yet. Rui Coimbra's in the catbird seat, though. He'll get to decide as he comes right up on the rear bumper of Geordie Fike going into Ascari.
Exit out of Ascari critical for the run towards Parabolica. Your line, your positioning through Parabolica, so important. Geordie Fike wide on the exit of Ascari. Big move from Rui Coimbra to try to swoop around him. Maybe not what he wanted to do. And now he weaves back across the other line as Fike is back into the slipstream. Very defensive line, now back across to the racing line for the race finish here. It's going to take everything from Rui Coimbra to still hold this lead by the end of the Parabolica. Does Fike have enough fuel? It's a couple of car lengths here. Is it too many? Can Fike get to Rui Coimbra by the end of this straight? Coimbra might just have it here. I don't think Fike has any fuel left. He's come up just a tiny bit short, and Rui Coimbra takes the race win from Geordie Fike. Joshua Soto in a world of trouble on this final lap in 3rd place, but he's just going to see it out. Sean Hayes has maybe also run out of a little bit of momentum on the final lap here. Soto crosses the line in 3rd. Hayes is going to get 4th. How about a battle here for Ian Giebler and Tom Ayton? A big points haul for Ian Giebler. If he can stay ahead, will give him the Open Class Championship. So they're in a drag race to the checkered flag. And as they cross the line, Ian Giebler holds on by 0.04 of a second. Looks like Josh Olsen had plenty of fuel on the final lap. And Andy Kosick just beats Brian Chabelski to the punch.
Yeah, that's the back half of our open class. Ray Lombardi crosses the line in 10th. Odyssey Adams, Tom Sanders, Lee Martin, and Orlando Harrell still to cross the line, but they're way deep in the field at this point, and we're seeing cars running out of fuel on the back straight of the old circuit. No surprise there.
Couple of cars pitted coming to the white flag there, Tom Sanders and Orlando Harrell, so they're not going to run out of fuel, but they did have to make an extra unwanted, but maybe not necessarily unplanned pit stop.
And the solid race with some solid fuel strategy. Oh, it's a good time.
A lot sure happened in 90 minutes, but at the end, Rui Coimbra with the win from Geordie Fike, who ran out of fuel 50 metres short of the line there. Joshua Soto, I think, measured it well to the end because his final lap wasn't that slow. He actually managed to pick up a little bit of pace on that final lap, having gone mega save in the laps that preceded it. He held on to a podium from Sean Hayes. Ian Giebler in 5th. Good points haul from the open class driver looking for the open class championship. Tom Don in 6th, then Josh Olsen, Andy Kosick, Brian Jabelski, Ray Lombardi, Odyssey Adams, Tom Sanders, Lee Martin not being able to get the points haul he would have liked to finish the championship and try to take it. Orlando Harrell, Michael Coates, Eugenio Polici, Michael Chase, Mitchell Peake, Ronnie Coates, Simon Foweather. The final 20. Some cars ended in the wall. Some cars ended in network disconnect with some problems there.
Yeah, plenty of drama as we came to the line that time, but trying to run some points calculations here, see if we can get an early result for you folks. Unofficial, of course.
And as we do that, we got our open class winner standing by. So not for the first time this season, Ian Giebler joins us, and that was a weird little race. This is a crazy circuit.
I agree. I think I was accidentally leading at one point. I was like, what the hell's going on? Why am I up here?
Yeah, obviously, it's oval racing for half of the lap. Daytona Talladega Super Speedway, because it's a 2.5 mile super speedway, that oval that opens up the lap. But then it all gets a little more road racing as you then complete the Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, I felt I had decent pace on the road race side, and the oval really bunched everyone back up. My goal was to just finish ahead of Lee. So I was happy to be at the back of the pack, but it gets so bunched up on the turns, you almost can't stay back there because the draft will just carry you through. So it was fun. I avoided a couple incidents that happened right ahead of me, gave me a couple spots, and was able to finish really strong. Strongest of the year, I think, for me.
Yeah, indeed. Well done there. We're watching some of these replays, and I mean, you need a spare bumper or two. They certainly got to work out in some places. Slingshot, super powerful as well. What did you find? We saw a lot of different lines on the banking because of how it works. No banking down low, but a short run. Lots of banking up high.
I made a lot of positions up down low. I saw a lot of people stay high, and I guess just taking the shorter line really gained a lot of time. So I found myself finding the front of the pack early on, just taking the low line on the banking. But once a couple incidents happened ahead of us, Sean and I kind of just bump drafted for a good half of the race. That was pretty fun.
Racing drivers famously normally not that great at maths. A couple of last lap pit stops confirm that. But by yours and by Devon's, we think that this 5th outright and the open class win makes you open class champion.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. I was intimidated to join this league at first, watching the your guys' programs. The racing just looked so tight. I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I do race with a couple of these other open drivers and the pro drivers and the Champ Car series that you guys run too. So I was comfortable joining after that, but I wasn't confident. So I saw a couple people drop down from pro to open. I think Lee was one of them. So I was excited to see some of these fast guys join the open and give a good race. I know Joel Singleton showed up a couple times. He was really fast. So yeah, it was really fun, and I'm hoping to probably take a season off, go get my I rating up, and then go join pro.
You might get involuntarily promoted off of this anyway, but congratulations. It's always more of a lottery in the open class, just based on, you know, where you're racing, who you're racing, how it pans out wheel to wheel, also with simpler O class drivers. So it's tough, but that's why it's a long championship.
Yeah, it was really fun. I like the format. The judging's really fair. This group of guys racing with them has been really fun. Definitely the first time I raced in a league with such thought out rules and things in place to actually enforce them, which is kind of a fresh breath of air on iRacing. So really fun group. Everyone races respectfully anyways. So I had a lot of fun on my first year with this group, or first time with this group.
Congrats, and we'll see you around.
Thank you guys.
Go Ian Giebler, race winner and open class champion. How about the pro class race winner? Because Rui Coimbra, the battle between yourself and Geordie Fike at the end there, almost as exciting as the 15-way battle I think that we had in the opening half an hour of this race.
Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
We got you.
Oh, what a race. That was I feel like I waited all season and all of those 90 minutes to finally get a win this season. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Different pit strategy than you normally get with this double length race, 2 pit stops. Any sort of, how'd you find the pit window? How'd you think about managing it, given how much speed and how much fuel saving there is to be found in a slipstream on a super speedway?
Yeah, I was actually trying to break away from everybody. It felt like we were just checking up a lot and slowing each other down. I wanted to see if I can break away, and everybody followed me into the pits. So that kind of negated any kind of strategy I was working on.
You never know what you're going to get, how it's going to play out. What about, we saw you and Geordie on the final 2 laps, maybe sort of testing where the best place to be is coming out of the final corner on the final lap. It is, on this configuration, a long run to the checkered flag out of the Parabolica.
Yeah, I was noticing like on the normal track, on the infield part, I was starting to he was starting to close the gap to me. You know, he was staying with me about half a second throughout the whole thing. So I knew it was going to be a tight race to the finish line there. And then I think we both made a couple mistakes on the very last lap, and hopefully put on a good show for everybody.
Certainly was pretty interesting to watch, with all of the aspects that we expect from Spec-5 World Tour, amongst like the racecraft, managing the pack and the slipstream, and also managing the fuel.
Yeah, it was a long race. You know, definitely did some practice with everybody from not a team, and you know that helped, just getting into a rhythm and trying different lines with drafting and getting through there side by side. But yeah, it was a fun race. I know Camden didn't show up. You know, Ronnie had some computer issues. Josh made a little mistake there, and I think there was some kind of pileup behind us early on, which it was kind of it turned into whoever finishes first finishes. You know.
Well, congratulations once again, race winner at Monza on the combined circuit, and I'm sure we'll see you around.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just want to give a real quick shout out to all the guys at Not a Team, you know, all the practice we put in, working together. Quick shout out to you guys for putting on a great broadcast. I know a lot of the guys enjoy going back and watching it and getting your perspective on what happened throughout the race. And Geordie and all the admins from Spec-5 putting on this great league. It keeps getting better and better every season, and appreciate all the hard work they put into it.
Rui Coimbra, pro class winner today. Devon, you've developed your first grey hair punching in the calculator, trying to get an estimate of what the pro class point situation looks like. What have you discovered, and who are we going to talk to next?
Well, it's very, very close, but the early results seem to be that after everything is calculated, with all the drop weeks factored in, I think that it is Camden Hibbett who's going to hold on to the points championship despite dropping this final week. It looks like he's got 947 points to Ronnie Coates' 927, and another 26 points back to Josh Soto's 901. It's still a little bit, I'm going to call that a little bit unofficial at this time, but it looks like Camden, in addition to winning the Real World Scholarship, has managed to do enough over the course of the season with all of his victories to hold on for the the pro class win this year. So the Wonder Kid strikes again.
Yeah, it looks like Camden Hibbett, race winner at Okayama, at Sonoma, at Road America, and at Phillip Island, as well as a very long list of podium results to go with it, becomes the season 14 Spec-5 World Tour Pro Class Champion. Very, very well deserved. And to help us wrap up this championship, we'll speak to some of the Spec-5 admin team as well. I can clicking on the things work. Hopefully we'll get Geordie Fike along to tell us from an admin perspective, how the season was and also how your race was today, because that was pretty exciting too.
Oh, best season so far, I think, on a lot of different levels. And the very few times I get to compete for a win, that's one of my best races ever. And like I was just talking to the two guys I was battling with, saying I felt like I'd been at the kids' table for the last 12 Thanksgivings, and I got invited to sit at the adult table tonight. And all I kept thinking was, don't mess it up. And
how does the champagne taste at the adults' table?
Yeah, I don't know, because I didn't quite get it. I got sprayed on me. I didn't quite get the win. I thought if I could exit Ascari good and hold the inside going into Parabolica, I could maybe get him, and then I just tried a little too hard on that exit of Ascari and pushed out a little bit. And you make a mistake with these guys. Yeah, that's all it takes is one little. The Josh makes one little mistake, and then Ronnie and I are see ya. Rui and I just checked out once I started just pushing him. My teammates were calling for leapfrogging, but I'm like, no, if we just keep pushing each other, we can chip away at this and build up a big enough lead, and then we'll go out at last lap. And that's the way it went down at it. I loved it. Again, this season, you guys doing a great job out here and us building. I was listening to Ian's interview, and it was nice to hear the appreciation for all the hard work done by the admins in here. Andy in particular has done so much work on the rules. This is a kind of the grandchild league of Mazda World Tour. Bill Subzan, many 12 years ago, started this, what became eventually Extreme Motorsports took over the Mazda only series of the Mazda World Tour, and then they moved into multi-class, so then we started this. And so our rules didn't come from scratch. We built off of what they had already put in place, and then the admins have tweaked them and refined them over the past few seasons, where if we ever fold as a league, we are definitely going to hand over all our intellectual property to whoever needs it, because I really feel like we've got the structure here. If anybody needs to run a league, we can send you a couple zip files and you'll have everything you need to hit the road running. So a lot of thanks to all the admins in this series. They do so much work. We've got a couple that are stepping aside next season because it's a lot of work and life gets in the way. And so special thanks to both Andy and to Ken Copeland for all their hard work. And hopefully we'll see them back on the admin team in the future. But for the meantime, we're going to have to find a little bit of fresh blood for our treasury and for our rules and some of our RT work for next season.
I would say you guys are producing some quality drivers by the looks of the results this weekend for Camden too.
Oh, just give me a love. So, back in the day, where Staub was really the only guy that was running with us that had a significant racing career, and we literally try and orient our schedule around helping him prep for his IMSA races. Because if our Make Pretend racing can help somebody in the real world, even by 0.1%, So Camden is incredibly talented. Obviously, would have done really well if he had never even heard of any of us. But if we had even some small little bit of help to getting him where he is, it just makes us so happy to see his success. And it's such, he's got so much in front of him. I mean, like I said, we've got some really good drivers here in the real world with Soto, and
He's
Andy
still like
drives
8 years old as well, isn't he?
Yeah. When he first joined the series, the joke was, "Are you faster than a fifth grader?" And we were, but we are not anymore. And we expect to see a lot of the same coming from Andrew now. As Andrew's coming up, he's had to take a small break. He hasn't been around because, again, his real world racing is getting in the way of make pretend racing with us, and that's just something I love to hear. So
we take credit for Camden's interview chops.
Well, I mean, and that's a large part of it with them. If John Allen went through the road to the 24, same kind of thing, and it wasn't just your pure pace. It's you're a product, and racing, you're not just an athlete. I've heard this mentioned in other sports that with nowadays with YouTube and with self-marketing and social media, you're not just an athlete, you're a product. And Camden gets that. John Allen gets that. And those are the guys that have success out there because they realize that part of it is, going out and helping find sponsors and going out and making, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing your team, your teammates, and everything else. And he just, he's got such a solid head on his shoulders at such a young age. It's just, he's more mature than I am, and I've got 50 years on it. So,
Geordie, where are people going to look for future news about the Spec-5 World Tour, and when might they expect to hear something?
Well, it will be probably our biggest break ever. Just because of the way the holidays fall, we really don't want to rush things out. We usually do 2 weeks off and then a recruiting race, and then we get back to it. But we are looking more at picking up after the first of the year this time around and taking a little bit of time off. Like I said, we've got to bring some fresh blood into the admin. We haven't done any fundraising for next season yet, so we've got some work ahead of us to do there first. We will make some posts in the forums. I'm not sure how much iRacing's forums really get used anymore. We try and race a lot of official practices and just word of mouth, talk to people, invite them. Everything runs out of Discord though, so if you look up Spec-5 in the leagues, you'll find us. That's all you got to look up, and from there you can get all the information you need to get into the Discord channel, and it's all explained there what you need to do. We do like you to practice with us once before you race with us. This is a great, you guys do such a great job of showcasing the product we put together, but the product we put together is the guys, and it's respect for each other and the week in, week out hard racing, but yet respectful racing. And so we're quality over quantity at this point. We've got good sized fields. If people would like to join us, we'd love to have you. But as I like to say, you've got to buy what we're selling. And what we're selling is for 45 or tonight 90 minutes, you've got to suspend reality, buy into the fact that you are driving a Spec Miata on a real racetrack. And if you wreck it, it's going to hurt and it's going to cost you a ton of money. And you need to drive that way. Not like Control R reset is an okay thing to do. And as long as that's what you're looking for, we'd love to have you. And speed is not what it's all about. As you can see, we're pretty sharp at the pointy end. We've had some incredible talent already apply for next season. Kind of scary, some of the guys at Sonny Cantion, if that name rings a bell to you guys. Just some really fast Miata drivers that are going to be joining us next season, hopefully. But if you're an open driver that's like, I'm not sure, look, as long as you're clean and you're respectful and want to look for that 1 week of race that you can really put your time into and have a good time, please come join us. It's more about community and clean racing than pure pace, and we really would like to build the open class out a little bit further. We had to kind of reshuffle people around a little bit last season, drops people that were in pro down to open to rebalance. We were getting too pro heavy, top heavy, and like I said, Ian isn't going to get a choice next season. Ian's pro next season. It's not maybe he'll get his ire up and join pro. He won open, he's pro. But there's some other guys that probably maybe are pro quality, but based on the new criteria we have, might end up back down at open next season. So we'll have to see how that shakes out.
Right, well, congratulations once again. We look forward to hearing more news, and people can keep their eyes and their ears out, find the league on iRacing, find you guys on Discord, and maybe see something on the iRacing forum as well. Some of these people got to get to bed, Geordie. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Very last thing, not going to get last word in. I just want to say, if you're running a league out there and you're looking for a broadcast team, you found it. Week in and week out, look at the job these guys do. They make us. You guys are like a great photographer makes somebody look better. A great broadcasting team showcases the product that we're offering out here, and you guys do such an outstanding job of that. Just one last time, want to really thank you guys for the great job you do, and we look forward to seeing you guys again for season 15.
The HJBC camera only adds £5. That's how the magic happens. Thanks, Geordie. Congrats. Good race today as well.
Thanks.
One last points update for you, David Haynes. The most important one of all, the Mr. Clean grid, has been calculated, and it looks like our winner overall, out of left field, is Brian Shabelsky, locking it down with 5 total incidents over the course of 12 races, an impressive mark eclipsing Lee Martin's 8 incidents and Andy Kossick's distant third place with 23 incidents. So there's all kinds of ways to win and all kinds of ways to get recognized out here in the Spec-5 World Tour Series.
13 rounds of Spec-5 World Tour. It all ended here with 90 minutes on Monza combined. The championship run, won and done. Camden Hibbert, your pro class winner from Ronnie Coates and Joshua Soto. What great racing those three put on with immense pace in these Mazda MX-5s. In the open class, Ian Giebler, his first time out in the championship, takes the open class from Lee Martin and a consistent Andy Kossick. We've brought you every minute of it here on HJBC. Wherever you're watching, please subscribe. We enjoyed it and we hope you did too. David Haynes, Devin Peters and Michael Derby. We'll see you when the next season of Spec-5 World Tour begins. And also make sure you keep your eye out for the Champ Car iRacing series with a couple of races still to go. It's ciao from Monza.